Well, welcome everybody to Reefy's Fuck Talking Bollocks episode 5. Today we are going to be discussing filtration. Bit of a loose subject because mechanical, chemical, biological, let's just talk about it all. So I'll kick it off with my...
Wait, Ron.
Oh,
Before you get going on filtration, can we go over what everybody's drinking?
so today I'm drinking from a local corner shop, Tango, and it is Tango Mango. Jim, what are you drinking?
Recommend it? I don't think we can get that here. Is that like a micro brew or?
Yeah, it's sugar free. It's disgusting. It leaves a horrible taste in my mouth, and I don't doubt it'll affect me later.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, what about you, Jim? What are you having? Are you having
Agua.
local?
Agua. Yeah.
Water.
Water.
Delicious.
Agua.
Salt
Just
water.
water. Delicious.
Skimmer cup.
Skimmer cup. Yeah.
Skimmer cup, salt water.
What about you, Mr. Budnick? What are you drinking?
Coffee.
From a monkey
drip.
man.
Yeah.
Drip coffee.
Yeah. Little creamer.
No. Mr. Dub, what are you drinking?
Water.
You starting to get in?
Worse.
Cheers to that. Drinking the same thing.
Tom, what are you drinking?
Water.
Oh, okay.
Water. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
Jason?
Coffee, of course. Of the drip
down to
variety,
coffee.
Ron.
Oh no.
Yeah, two drippers and 3 aguas and Ron's
Good
doing his own
stuff, bro.
thing.
Gotta have it.
Drip is too.
I gotta get my
close to the word
coffee machine.
Dribble.
I'm just not as bougie as you, Ron. That's all.
Call this
I don't-
bougie. Tango Mango.
Well, now I'm not talking about coffee here. See, you're in the middle of the day for you. I just woke
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, middle of the day. Although I am drinking exclusively black coffee now.
That's the only way to drink coffee. We don't drink it with anything else. That's no.
Hey, no.
Nope. Sorry, Zach. Nope. Black coffee, buddy.
Hey Jordan, how's it going? Do you have a wee
Morning.
sippy cup of milk or
Black coffee, Ron.
black? Ooh, are your mum and
Yeah,
dad?
there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Are you old enough for that?
Stunted my growth, but
It's gonna keep you up tonight. You're gonna be a bad boy.
exactly.
I should have waited to hit record until after all of this happened, but it's a good intro. So we're
Can
talking
you thank
about,
our sponsor?
we're talking
I
about
just want to thank our.
filtration.
What about our sponsors? Can we thank our sponsors too? Gotta
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
all those generous sponsors out there.
I'll do it really, really quickly. Done. Moving on. So, what do we all use to filter our coffee?
Paper.
Paper.
Heat loss.
That's
Mesh.
interesting. Thomas has a decapitated head on his shoulder.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll kick it off with biological filtration, and because I'm bare bottom and I have minimal rot work and no rot work in the frag tank. Fuck off, Jason. I use these little 3D printed racks, and I use I think it's the same as the Polyp Lab ones that you guys have. The wee, is it Genesis blocks are called or something like that? And I slot them into this little rack and I stick them in my sump. So I have 24 of the max spec blocks in my reefer tank sump and 28 in my frag tank sump. Like I say, because I've got very, very minimal rot work. And it seems to work absolutely fine for me. I soaked them in Microbacter 7 when I was soaking the rot work along the time. But I also had some from previous systems that I seeded my new blocks with. And I have to say, it's worked really, really well for me. What does everyone else do biologically wise? Jim?
I guess similar to you, I've got maybe 25 pounds of rock in my sump. That's it.
What
Yeah,
about you?
so-
Zach, you're going to be quite complicated because you've got an entire fucking store. So where do?
I can sum it up easy though.
Okay.
Uh, a couple export blocks on some systems, and then a mass of rocks. And I don't get the fish walls. They do plastic bio balls, so I can add medication without anything getting absorbed. And that's what we do for bio around the store.
So do you have a centralized sump that is just absolutely packed with live rock?
No, we try to keep everything kind of separate in case of disaster strikes. It only affects one area. So we have like 4 separate systems that we all just completely different. Different systems have different needs. So the SPS system and the LPS system have these big Brightwell's export blocks, and I think they're rated for like 1,000 gallons each, which is just a huge number and wild to me.
Have you ever had any issues with those breaking down?
I never touch them. I pull them out. They've just been there in the same spot. They're coated in sponge. I'm sure they're packed in poop and crud and whatnot.
All the
But I
good
just don't
stuff.
touch them. Yeah, I just don't. I leave them alone.
And they're keeping on top of your nutrients.
One system, no, but the SPS system, I'm just pouring nitrate into it constantly every day throughout the day. I can actually go up to the system and free ball nitrate into it and just walk away confidently that nothing bad's going to happen tomorrow and it's going to suck up pretty quick. The other systems, not so much. They work a little differently.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baggy. Breezy.
Baggy.
Mr. Dub, what are you doing?
So right now I have 40 pounds of sand in sump, various different biologs. Those marine pure bio, or it's like those little diamonds, I think they're called. They're just little biogems or whatever they're called. And then live rock, not much though. Other than that, have a lot of rock in this in the display tank. 75 gallon has 40 pounds of sand I'm going to be adding and probably about 60 pounds of rock. So that's the addition, 75.
Is that all tied into the same sump? That is,
Yep.
right? And how
Yeah,
are you
it's
going to do
gonna
that
be-
right away?
Yes. No light though on that system. Gonna let it go a couple weeks. I already have what's called biodigest, ProBeto biodigest. I was gonna probably add like 4 ampules. It's these little glass vials just to help seed. So
Yeah,
we'll
that
see.
Prod Bio stuff, or whatever, however you pronounce it, it's getting quite a good name. I spoke to one of the main guys that was doing it in the UK at a trade show back in 2019, and it seems to have ramped up quite a bit since then. We don't have massive quantities of Brightwell and stuff here. Very few people actually carry it on a store shelf. Red Sea's pretty big, but you know, all of these other little companies, they've not really got a foothold here.
Do you have
Which is
Quantum
interesting.
over there?
Yeah, so
That's like the off-brand of, or not the off-brand, but Art Brightwell and Quantum.
well, it's not
One and
called
the same.
Quantum here. It's called Continuum.
Oh, I probably pronounced it
But
wrong.
I've ordered Brightwell stuff from the wholesaler here in the UK and taken Continuum stuff, bio blocks like the ones you were talking about, the huge ones like house bricks with the big nipples on the bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the underside of a pregnant pig. And they came out the box with the word Continuum written on them. And I'm pretty convinced that over time, my Brightwell bricks have remained solid and good, but the Continuum ones have all, you know, literally the amount of grip it takes me just to pull one out of the sump, my thumb and fingers actually go into it, and then the whole thing just starts to fall apart. And then I want to say silicates. Yeah, silicates, not silicon, silicates. I can't remember. One of the two, I get them mixed up all the time. One of them in my ICP was astronomical until I took the Continuum branded bricks out of the system.
Interesting.
Even though I was told
What?
absolutely identical, they're just in a different box.
Yeah, I've heard that from other people too, that certain brands of those bio bricks can get soft over time. I don't know why, but
I mean, one of them at the end actually just disintegrated in my hand and just fell into this like clay-like dusty powder. Whereas the Brightwell ones, which are a slightly different colour, that was the giveaway. So the Brightwell ones are more of a kind of grey cementy colour. The Continuum ones had a slightly pink tinge to them. So they're definitely
What's up with
not-
the different brands of them? Like they have a nitrate export one, a phosphate export one, and then there's a third, I think.
Yeah, so the ones I bought were just the standard biological ones without.
Okay.
they're here. Yeah, I'll be right back, guys.
Cat taking a shit. Get it on film.
No, the
As Jim trips on a giant cat turd.
Slips and falls in it.
Are you busting open a retail package, Zach?
Yeah. So that's the bio block. Can you see it?
Yep.
High porosity export bio brick.
I think I've actually got one of the Continuum ones in the cupboard. Shall I go and get it? Oh, what's
Yeah,
that?
if you do.
Yeah, I'll go and get
Oh,
it.
of course it's getting fucking blurred out.
No, it's showing now. It's showing now.
So this is pretty pink. And it does feel pretty soft, like chalky.
hey,
It's like
Yeah.
a sandpaper dick.
yeah, you gotta
And,
come in the basement.
I've used it for a
All
long
right, come on,
time, and I've
dogs.
taken them out of another system, and that
No.
system runs perfectly fine without
Come on.
having it.
All right.
So I don't know if
You're
it
good to
actually
come
does
in.
anything at
Come
all.
on.
That's kind of a weird thing,
get it?
right? Because you only need enough surface area for what your
Okay,
system
smell you.
needs. If you have
Okay.
1,000 gallons
You're
worth
good.
of
Okay, you're good.
biofilter,
Okay, Daisy, get down.
was that a dog? Is it a cat?
I think Jim's wrangling dogs.
Right, I've got a Continuum one here, and it's called an Exodus back brick. No, it's not focusing.
Bacteria. Brick.
It just went. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There's a cat.
Fuck.
Okay, so what are we hoping that these all do? What's their function
it's
and
in
their
here.
goal?
Well,
Yeah.
this is because I was going fully bare bottom. I was just literally trying to replace the lack of rock and bacteria surfaces. Yeah, so this one is visibly pink compared
So
to the Brightwell one.
Is the
Let me
claim
go check.
you can have 1,000-gallon tank without rock, and this is enough
Yeah.
space to take
Well,
care of
I
everything?
don't know. I mean, it depends on the amount of flow it gets, and I
Yeah,
think
there's a lot of variables with that.
if all of these pores on the outside of this brick get blocked with shit and
It's
sponge,
useless.
then all of it inside is a waste of fucking space. So yeah, this is I mean, this has already got bits missing out the side of it.
Do not stagnate. Good medium flow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway, I moved on to the max spec, much smaller versions, which are the wee tiny little ceramic balls. So they're rock hard, really
Okay.
rock hard. I know, but obviously I needed far more.
No, we're good. Yeah.
Jordan. Welcome. It's like herding cats. Oh.
What is going on? There's so much talking in the background. Fuck's sake, mute your mics, people. Ryan, your tank is looking absolutely majestic in the background there, just to let you know.
Thank you.
Your tank tour has just broken all records and is making those of us that have not as many views look really shit. So thanks.
Yes. Yep. Thanks for that, Dick.
So how much did the Russian bots cost, Ryan?
Jim's has had more views than mine now, so I know he says I've got an Instagram glamour tank, but I'm sorry. The views have suggested differently.
Yeah, if you got to, you have to sync down here.
Didn't he have the
Have a
city
lot
come
of
in this
editing,
morning?
Ron. You're gonna have a lot of fucking editing on this one.
Yeah.
How do you edit that?
I'll need to put
Compare.
voiceover. I'll put voiceover. I'll talk about the weather. Right. Anyway, where were we? I'm just going down the screen. Tom, what do you do for biological filtration?
I use these bricks I got off of Amazon. I got about 60 of them in my sump.
60.
They're all stacked and everything on top of each other.
Did you make 3D printed racks like Mr. Dub did?
No, I just stacked them in the bottom of the sump, however they would fit.
Okay. And that
I don't have no problems with nitrates or phosphates at all.
so they look like a completely different product to look at compared to the one Zach showed, or is Zach's just brand new and that one's used?
No, this one's brand new. This is just a different color. I think they're the same brick company.
Yeah, I would agree, Tom. I think they are. I think it's just a different offering.
Yeah.
So are they sold to tackle different types of nutrients, or
I honestly don't know. I just got these ones because they were on sale.
Yeah, same.
okay?
I got a total of 200 waiting to go into the next build.
Wow, that's a lot.
200, you said?
Yep.
Where are those going to fit?
I'm gonna run 3 stock tank, 100 gallons
Oh, okay.
for the central sump that I'm trying to tie everything into.
Wow.
Cool.
Jason, what are you doing for biological?
Not a damn thing. I mean, I got some rock in the tank, and there's a bag of some stuff in the hang on the back filter. I don't even know. I have no idea. Like it was like one of those, I got some ceramic shit here. I just threw it in the back in the hang on the back. That's it.
What's your plan for your new system?
I'm gonna get some blocks to throw in the sump, and probably I have a bunch of extra rock laying around. So when that goes up, I may break some of that rock up and just kind of stick some of it in the sump. And then I have a big bag of like ceramic something or another that I could put into a media bag and throw in there also for in case I need to seed something else. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have a lot going on with that. I don't have room for anything else. So
Jordan, what are you doing in your new system?
I mean, pretty similar to Jason, not a whole lot. Just
Random bag of shit from the
no.
around.
I mean, it's rock and sand, man. I mean, I've got like 60, 70 pounds of sand in the system between the sump and the display. I've got probably 50 pounds of rock. Not a whole lot, but I mean, my system's probably not a great example. Going through some uglies right now, but yeah, I mean, I don't really get like, I don't know if more is better. Like, I think once you have enough, like, there's a diminishing return on how much that's actually going to benefit you. But what
You're right. So
was
everything
my next-
showing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I got enough. That was my next thing I wanted to mention too. I think every tank is limited to how much it produces and how much it can, maybe more is useless and not being used and getting just like clogging up as dirt if you don't have the right amount of stuff.
So everything I've read shows that there is a bit of a limit based on exactly what you're saying, based on your typical nitrates and phosphates, your organics and stuff like that. There is a limit to how much biofilm you can hold. And if you go too far, like if you go too much, typically you'll actually thin out the biofilm, and the biofilm will actually get weaker. So there is a bit of a balance. I'm always been curious of how these blocks are rated. Like if they're actually tested, and if they're tested between companies, and obviously you get various different pore sizes and all this different shit. So I don't know. It's just something to think about. So sometimes less is more in this type of situation. Like I think I have like 9 of these in my sump, and it's about 100 gallons. I typically sit around, I'd say probably like 20 ppm nitrates and probably close to about like 0.03 to 0.09 phosphates. And I test infrequently, so not really a good example of testing and stuff like that, but pretty steady at that kind of that range. So
I've never really
What did-
worried about having too much, to be totally honest. I mean, years ago I had just a fish only system, and I had, it was a ridiculous amount of rock in it, and it didn't cause any trouble. But I mean, how would we measure that? How would we measure? Oh, by the way, you've got too much filtration.
Right. It would be by having 0 nutrients, right?
You
Maybe.
would think.
Right. I missed what Ryan said he used for filtration, biological.
Well, we've not asked him yet, so let's ask him.
Oh,
Ryan, what are
sorry.
you doing for biological? That's why Zach missed it. Future man.
Let's see. So the bio blocks, BRS had a sale one time. It was like a whole bag of busted bio block, and it was a really good deal. And it was, they claimed, I don't know, I can't remember how many hundreds of thousands of square feet of surface area, but I had 2 of those initially, and then I also had like a 44-gallon brute force tub of just leftover rock from my aquascape, and that's also in the sump. I had all of that, but I've slowly I've been removing the bags because, just like you say, I don't think I have enough flow in there to keep them clean. So I have since taken out all those bio blocks. So it's just the rock right now, and whatever the sand provides.
Is anyone using the magic mud?
Miracle Mud?
Yeah.
My first tank did. And I thought it was a successful tank. It's not around anymore.
What's the thought process behind this mud? Because I don't know anyone that does anything with mud. And
I was just wondering the same thing.
I mean, there's fucking no way I'd put mud anywhere near my fish tank.
It was
mud.
It was
Mud you
messy.
wash off your car.
You would lose your mind, Russ.
You
You would
fucking
lose your
right.
mind.
Yep. Let's just put shit in the tank. No. Mm-mm.
Well, the idea is like you're gonna seed the beneficial bacteria that companies like Aquabiomics and whatnot are saying that are going to be beneficial to a healthy microfauna in your tank. Generally, I think is the idea.
So what's
And,
to say that there's no bad stuff in there then? Is it from nature?
Yeah.
Did you literally take it from nature and stick
Yes.
it back?
No.
Nature,
It-
popular for growing
is.
mangroves.
Yeah, exactly.
Some
It's
people use
exactly-
and they like cycle it out kind of like you do frag racks, where they'll have like 2 boxes of it, 4 or 5 inches deep in their sump, and like every 6 months they'll take one out and put a new one in, and then the one that's in there for another 6 months they'll pull out, put another one in, and they'll cycle them, or maybe they do it every 3 months. I'm not sure, but Mike Paletta swears by it.
So you had a successful tank running Miracle Mud, Zach?
Yeah, it was glorious. It was full, and SPS, LPS, stuff growing up the whole back wall. The fish were happy. The sump was more of like a natural approach, and it looked like the damn ocean. It was nasty. It was the miracle mud got everywhere. Sponges grew up the sides intensely. You could see the tunnels throughout the sides of my container where the microfunnel were tunneling through the miracle mud and stuff. It was lively. And now, even now, I notice in some of my systems, like my invert walls, we have mycids and stuff going everywhere. They're just naturally occurring things in the system. Is that the miracle mud right there?
Yeah.
I got a new.
Yeah. So this is
that's
the miracle mud itself.
Do you know, I've seen those tubs and labels and stuff, but you know, the brand doesn't look like it says the words miracle mud to me. It looks like miracle wind.
What does that claim? Hole in the head? It can cure head, and it claims it can dramatically reverse the effects of lateral line erosion. It's a big claim for putting mud in the tank, isn't it?
That's a big claim.
I mean, how? How's a bag of dirt gonna... What?
Zach, at the top, did it just say it was going to like replenish traces?
I have heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, it says it claims that it has a lot of trace shit like that, like right here.
Wow. We'll be curing cancer soon by just drinking out of a random puddle.
Yeah.
Well, they have that mud water, right? Haven't you seen that ad?
No.
Oh man. Health benefits of mud water.
Mud water?
Yeah, I think it's a name for coffee though, or something.
Oh.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is.
It's like the
similar to
mushroom
the
coffee or
runs.
whatever.
We are sponsored by this. Is sponsored by mud water today.
Okay, I'll add that in. Let me just take a note. Mud water, also known as watery shit. Right. No.
I guess my question is like, what is the logic behind like more biological filtration? Like, do we think it's heterotrophic bacteria that are actually like removing nitrates from the system, or like is it beneficial bacteria for our coral? Like, what are we trying to accomplish with more is better?
Well, for me, I'm only doing it purely based on the fact that I don't have a lot of rock. That's the only reason why I'm using it. I'm not even thinking about, I suppose I'm trying to replace what other people have in their rock and their sand bed. I don't have a sand bed. I don't have a lot of rock.
And I think that makes sense perfectly, right? But if you have a full sand bed and a full aquascape, it's kind of like, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear from those that have sand, rock, and also have these bricks in their sumps. What is the thought process behind that? Is it just more is better?
You know, my soft coral tank over here is super high nitrate, super high phosphate, and it has zero of the biomedia blocks or anything like that. It's probably the dirtiest system in a tank. And I just usually blame it on it because it's the soft coral section. But maybe because I don't have blocks in there, it does something.
Throw some in. You've got one open now.
Try it. Yeah, I could cut one in half. They're not 1,000 gallons.
Shot soiled.
So you have those in your SPS tank systems too?
Yeah. Yep.
And do you think maybe you should have less because you're struggling keeping nitrates?
That's been a huge thought. But then I also, when I look at the system, I love everything that's going on. As I look at the corals, so why am I going to take something out when I'm really enjoying the system? So I'm torn between that.
I do wonder how many products we have in this hobby in particular that just cancel each other out and are constantly fighting. And we're paying money to do this, and then we're paying money to literally suck that back out.
Which is skimmer, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
I mean, if you run GFO and you run trace dosing, there you go.
That's
GFO
why I've stopped
removes
running GFO. I've stopped running GFO and I've stopped running carbon. I spoke to the main coral grower here in the UK, and he said, if you want any success, the biggest thing I can tell you, Ron, is get all of that stuff out. You are literally just sucking what you're putting in straight back out.
Yep,
I
100%.
must admit, yes, my nutrients are higher. My tests are coming back, what most would claim slightly worse, but the corals are way better.
Yeah, I still run carbon, but I stopped running GFO. I did stop running carbon for a little while, and the tank just kind of got a little yellow, so I started rerunning it again.
I have to admit, I'm definitely noticing more pigment in my water, but the corals are doing so much better. And it's just a frag system. Nobody's coming to sit and look at it or sit in a living room on a couch at night enjoying it. I'm literally using it to grow corals, and the corals are growing better. So fuck it.
Yeah.
And would you use
That's
it if you did get way too high?
Ooh.
For example, my LPS system made it over 1 for phosphate. Yeah, man. So I have graciously accepted the use of RoaPhos back into my life and have been using it for the last couple of months now, slowly, and it still is sucking it up really fast. And
RoaPhos is expensive though. Can't you just get some cheap like?
It's so much better than all the rest.
I've got this bucket for the last 5 years that I haven't had to buy another one. It's just
Really,
because I don't always use it, but
yeah. I bought it from the Kohler Labs because that RoaPhos was so expensive.
I've seen massively better results with RoaPhos in comparison to all the others, and I've tried quite a few different brands, but I don't run it anymore. I totally had agreed with the guy who gave me the advice, and I've seen nothing but better growth and coloration since I stopped using it.
Do you have phosphate issues?
Well, if you test, you're gonna find issues potentially. So if you don't test and the corals look baller,
yeah,
then
that's how I do it.
Yeah,
just don't test.
Don't you worry you're riding that line though?
What line?
You don't know where you're at.
But
I am on that line. I am so far past the line.
You could be at that.
Nobody
cliff.
can
You
see
could
me.
be
I'm so far past.
No, Jim, I totally agree with you, but you have to know what is the cliff. If the cliff was 1.2, that was the cliff and everything died after that. But nobody knows where the cliff is.
True that.
Because the cliff is a sliding thing.
Yeah, but
the cliff doesn't. There is no cliff. It's a sliding thing. Does
anyone have a definitive number that you have to avoid?
See, there's nothing. There's a lot. There's so many parameters.
100
that are. There's no. We don't know the cliff line, right? But you have so much time invested and so much money invested. Don't you feel better about just giving yourself a range that you know isn't the cliff?
Yeah, I mean,
forget about what is the cliff. If we know what isn't the cliff, and it's easy to just stay in that range because it's so wide, why not just make sure you're not outside of a range we know is good?
Yeah, I mean, I was half joking. I do test, but I don't test as often as I should. I mean, I'll do my phosphates once a month, and they're always below 1. In fact, they're always below 0.05 normally. So, and that's not running RoaPhos. There was one time it got to like 0.8 or something like that, and you know that kind of way you look at your test kit and you're like, fuck, but then you look at your tank and there's nothing wrong. Absolutely.
But does that not worry you that it's trending? Like, wait, why did it? What happened? Something has changed in the system. Yeah, maybe I need to investigate.
I put a whole load of these in, which obviously leached a tiny little bit of something from the PLA or something from the boxes of the mass spec bricks and things like that. The phosphates don't just magically appear in my tank. It's due to fuckery. It's something I've done or something in the tank. So as long as I'm careful.
It's my
That's why I like to test. I don't do a whole lot. And if I test, nitrates, phosphates once every 2-3 weeks, if something starts to change, I need to maybe pay more attention to my tank. Not necessarily like change anything, but think about what did I add, what didn't I add. I'm not really adding anything different, or maybe I got a new bottle of something. Maybe the bottle's no good. Maybe I got new trace and the bottle, or maybe the trace I have in my dosing container got tainted, from sitting out without being mixed for a while. Or, I just think that it's dangerous to ignore there are cliffs, even though we don't know them.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, running automatic water changes every single night with a huge vat of salt water through the wall, whatever's happening is being diluted every single 24 hours.
What if you have bad salt mix?
Well,
what if you have bad salt mix? What if you have bad pump?
I have had a bad salt mix. That definitely happened. I mean, there was physical evidence of stuff in the bucket to begin with. Then there was physical evidence of, after mixing it, the inside of the storage container was rust brown when it had only ever been even slightly brown after a year and a half of not even cleaning. So yeah, there was sufficient evidence to tell me that salt was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I test. I just mean things like phosphates and things like that. I don't know where
I get exactly what you're saying. Where is it?
Yeah.
I get what both of you are saying.
I think the real cliff, like there's two for me, and the first one is like volatility. So if you're gonna 10 times your phosphates overnight, you're probably in some trouble. And then the real cliff for me is 0. If I have no phosphates, I'm like, okay, I'm in trouble. I need to start, feeding more. I need to give refroids if, some guys are manually dosing. Like, I'm more worried about 0 than I am about 1.
Yeah, I mean, refroids, you've hit the nail on the head there. This tank hit 0, and I think it was actually Mr. Dubba was talking to about it, and he said, well, have you got refroids? He says, yeah, and he just said, fucking throw it in, and it fixed it in an hour. But colour was visibly starting to fade. So yeah, I understand. Yeah, there's definitely a low cliff, 100%. I totally agree with you there. And that has been proven time and time again. But I don't know where the high cliff is.
I think stability kind of saves you from that. Like you can, there's somebody in the industry who is known for having really high phosphates and their tank is banging. So, what does that say? Like,
I think that, I run a little bit higher phosphates, 0.5. But I think if you're running under 0.1, I think you can get complacent if you never test. Like under if you're running steady, you've tested 0.5, okay, test, once a month, whatever, steady. You get under 0.1 and it's, even if it's still steady at, let's say 0.05, you're closer to that bottoming out that you're rolling, some dice on. I mean, you could catch it if you pay really good attention to your corals. I think Jordan, you caught it. Like, man, my corals aren't looking very good. Brian V struggled with that. Remember, like, my corals aren't looking good. ICP tests all sorts of stuff. Well, he's bottoming out nutrients.
I bail
Too
out
clean.
every time I lose all my phosphates. I got hammers that just gone white skeleton tops floating, juicy on the sand, but they just bailed off.
I think in general, people are far, far more worried about high everything as opposed to bottoming out. I mean, that's the first time I've ever found 0 phosphates in a tank in all of my years in reefing. And
yours was struggling, right?
It was so obvious something was wrong.
Yeah.
The coralline algae lost color in like 48 hours. I was like, what is going on? And of course, I'm testing for high numbers. And then I tested phosphates and, the screen is flashing 0.0. I was like, nah, that can't be right. I've never even seen that. I didn't even know that was a thing on the Hannah checker. So I did it another 2 times and it was 0.
What's it at now?
No idea.
Do you think you have too much biological filtration?
Based on the fact that there's no sand and very little rock, no. Oh, look at that. That keeps doing that. Can I do it the
Give me
other
the
way?
thumbs up.
Can I do it?
Wow.
That's mental. Whoa. Whoa. Anyway, moving on.
What the hell? How'd you do that?
It's the new Apple thing. You can do it in your iPhone.
Bernadette behind the camera.
Yeah.
He's got a fucking team there. He's got a staff
But
that's helping with his production.
Natalie dingies, all of that. She's like that. So you talking to your fishy friends later? I'm like, yeah. You're gonna put your do not
Your
disturb
fishy
sign up on your
friends.
door.
Your fishy friends.
I'm gonna put my do not disturb sign up on the door.
So, do we want to talk about mechanical?
Yes, we do. Roller filters for the win. Although people are now talking about them pulling out too much. Jim making it rain. So yeah, roller filters, purely from the fact that I cannot stand washing filter socks. But the main thing about filter socks is I don't feel like I can get them perfectly clean and then not reintroduce something to the tank. So we have a washing machine at the garden centre. They wash all their tea towels and stuff. And then I do a really hot wash in the washing machine with nothing in it to clean it out of all garbage. Then put my filter sock in, run it for a cycle. Diatoms all the time in that.
Don't you know you just have to take it out and like hold it against the wall and spray it off the garden hose?
I knew that was coming.
It's
I mean,
that does it.
That's all you have to. That's all you have to do.
I'm
Good resist. Sorry.
I'm going to leave that there. But yeah, I can't stand washing filter socks. They're full of bristle worms. They stink. So
I've found that kind of filtration just pulls out a lot of good organisms. I mean, when I was running filter socks, all I was doing was rinsing off gook and killing pods and little critters. What I was doing. I mean, every time I'd see pods all over my sink.
Yeah.
Be like, why am I doing this? Like, let them be.
That's why I took mine off.
No, yeah, no.
Bristle worms is the only thing I see in mine. I don't ever see any pods.
I see pods everywhere in mine.
I've only got them in the quarantine tank, which is pretty small. There's not much going on in there. There's no sand.
Yeah, maybe with a roller, you got a better deal where they can kind of run away as the roller's, moving. But filter socks, they get trapped in them. You pull them out, and you just netted a bunch of organisms.
Yeah, I just kill them. I don't care about those that made it in the sock. There's plenty of other ones, and there's enough to make it to the sock. They're gonna repopulate so fast.
What is
gonna make it
what
the
is
same
the
amount
filter
tomorrow.
sock doing for you?
It collects the bigger stuff that trying to keep out the food that I've overfeed to make sure everything's getting fed.
Yep.
So how often are you cleaning those?
Sometimes fish. I fill up a 5-gallon bucket or two of filter socks every 3 days and have to wash them.
That is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. I did use a couple filter rollers on some of the systems, but they weren't the right fit. And I think the one roller lasted a week, and it wasn't economical to use.
They talk about the marine land filter that you throw in the tank and it polishes the water. So I do that, but I just use my roller filters. So I've got one of those, what's it called? Sicce Ultra Zero pumps that sucks. Yep.
The polisher you're talking, those are cool.
So I stick it in the tank and I just blast all the shit out the rocks, which then suspends it all. It all then goes down the overflow into my filter roller and gets pulled out. Minimum effort.
Zach, is yours mostly from like you want to keep mulm out of your sump perspective, or is it like
Yeah.
nutrients or both?
Nothing to do with nutrients
Okay.
because it's easy. Nutrients is usually easy to deal with, I think, because you can do as big of a water change usually as you want to do. And there's so many things that you can put into your tank medias and stuff to remove what you want to remove. I would say just to try to keep cleanliness, and the still stuff makes it through the socks. But I can see a difference from when I had listened to somebody who told me just to run nothing, and I kid you not, so quickly would I get inches of mold in the bottom of my
How quickly?
a couple
Weeks?
months, 2
Couple months,
months,
great.
and it got inches, man, just everywhere.
So-
and then every time I
so-
accidentally get in there to do anything, it's dusted all up, and it goes all back into the tank into a huge fucking storm.
You got to pull a Ron and get some power heads in there and keep that shit suspended.
Dude, they're
I
in
would-
there, but the thing with power heads is there's always that one spot where there's the lowest flow, and it still collects no matter
Get
what.
two.
I like.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, that's
I
what
like
it's gonna cost. Once you guys start fighting and arguing like that, walk away.
You're right there,
Take
Tom?
that!
Sorry, I thought the mic was muted.
It's okay. Real life is fine.
Awesome.
Damn kids.
So I like the thought of having almost a separated stump and having like I don't do a whole lot of turnover. So like my first chamber of my sump doesn't really need to move water. It's just kind of transferring from one chamber to another. And why not have that kind of lower flow chamber just collect mold? And instead of changing filter socks every 3 days, turn off my return pump and vacuum it out every 2 months.
Jim, what is that in the background?
What?
What is, that?
Oh,
What is that in the background?
My puzzle?
No, I
It's a puzzle.
yes.
Oh, that's my King Cameron III poster.
He is a handsome, handsome man.
The Great Scottish King.
God.
Doesn't everybody have a King Cameron III poster? This
We keep
royalty.
one in the store. Yeah.
I have a tea
Yeah.
set. I have a tea set with it on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's whatever. What everybody does. Scottish King.
I'm looking at, because all I can see is the shoes and the socks, and then he disappeared, and then he came back, and then I just saw a little bit of a kilt, and I'm like, I think that's that photo he's popped my face on.
Boy.
King Cameron III. The Great Scottish King. Royalty.
Fuck's sake. Right, moving on. Filter socks and roller filters. Anyway,
Zach, are you only like you running skimmers, obviously, right?
Skimmers, yeah. Not the
So
invert
skimmers
wall.
and socks.
Skimmers and socks.
Cool.
And if you have Brianna do it, it's not even that big of a deal.
where do I order one of them from, Zach? Is that a
One of a kind.
Right. Well, Brianna.
Yeah.
It'll be on his website once it's live.
shittysocks.com? Oh dear.
So what about like skimmers? Do you guys run skimmers 24/7? Do you run skimmer only at night? Only a few days a week? What's the deal?
24/7 for me on all systems except quarantine. It wasn't doing anything. It wasn't pulling anything out. It was one of those NIOS ones, which, to be totally honest, when I first saw them getting launched, I was like, oh, they look cool. I mean, they're classy looking. They do fuck all. Worst skimmer I've ever owned, and it was probably one of the more pricey ones.
You said
Does it not
Niles?
do anything because your tank is so clean? Or did it not do anything because it's a piece
Oh,
of shit?
No, that was a quarantine tank. That was No, it was dirty, not particularly well cared for. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I run skimmers 24/7 on my other systems, yeah. Not to pull shit out, just for gas exchange.
For your ozone specifically?
No,
Or
I only run ozone in the big shop system.
okay.
Now, why do people say that there's no gas exchange when you use a skimmer?
Who
Some
said
people
that?
say that. I've heard that said.
I think I had heard that said too.
I don't know how that
It's a lot of air,
actually
right?
is a thing because yeah, the water. Well, I think what they're saying is the air is within a chamber that is sealed, that is taking in water from your tank. It's not putting water out of your tank. And what's in the skimmer is never going back into the tank.
The hell it doesn't.
I was gonna say, if that were true, your skimmer
Yeah.
would be full in a minute. Like,
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what people say it doesn't work. But I think the water that goes through the skimmer gets bubbled out, goes out the skimmer. Of course, there's gas exchange.
totally.
Yeah, I mean, I see a dramatic drop in pH if I don't run my skimmer.
If there wasn't, how would a CO2 scrubber work?
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
What about micro bubble scrubbing?
I don't even know what that is. I don't know. I've heard of it. I don't know what it is. I feel like I've seen it on forums and it's always ended up in a fist fight.
Yeah, it's just basically like skimmering your entire tank.
So
Trying to
filling
lock
your
stuff
actual
up.
display with bubbles.
Just
Fisher
like
Heck
if you're,
does it.
yeah.
Who does it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Who does?
Fish of
Fish-
Hex.
Yeah, some people do it.
He does it to like make his acro slime up, right? And
Yeah, I
just to get
believe
the
so.
detritus to
I
lift
think
up.
he's got a whole video on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why do you want?
I don't know how much
slime
data
up?
there is. I mean, there's
Probably
some people
none.
who do it and say, yeah, that say that it improves their coral and look at their coral, and you can't argue with people who have not nice coral that something's not working for them, but you can't also argue that it's the micro bubbles that's doing it.
This is such a weird fucking hobby that there's so much floaty. Nobody really knows.
Have
Everyone's
you ever done it for ChemiClean? Like when you got a cyano outbreak and you put a bubbler under your fan and you scrub for the day or two and it helps lift the cyano up.
No.
Totally, man.
I mean, I've used ChemiClean.
I just let the ChemiClean do its thing.
Yeah, with the skimmer off, where the skimmer goes fucking crazy.
Yeah, I always put an air stone in the tank and let it bubble like crazy, and
I leave an air
it
stone
seems to
going.
help.
I do
Yeah.
the airstone thing
Yeah.
because they say it reduces oxygen, doesn't it? But I don't do it.
And that's micro bubbling, isn't it? I mean, how does your whole tank is covered, and then when you put any bubbler in it,
No, mine just goes straight up to the surface and
Really?
burst. It doesn't fill. the
Yeah,
tank.
mine does too. Mine doesn't fill the
Oh,
tank.
right.
I don't
Unless
use
you
those
use
like
a power head.
yeah, I put them
Zach's
in the
got a
power head.
store. He may be using one of those, 4-inch or 39 millimeter discs that bubble the shit.
Fine
I've seen
bubbles.
those in like healthy quarantine tanks, try and create a ton of oxygen in the water for fish. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but some people say it doesn't put oxygen in the water.
I don't know.
All it would do would surface tension, and
Yeah.
then the micro bubbles itself would just be for helping to help lift stuff up. That's like
Yeah,
the slime is such a could be a buoyant thing with enough bubbles under it, and it helps peel it off the rocks as it's stuck to it.
that's kind of like saying you just
Jordan's
power
looking,
blast everything.
Jordan's looking really confused. Go on, Jordan.
So, sorry, they're saying there's no oxygen in the air stone. Is it filtering out the oxygen through the pump somehow? Like, what the?
Yeah, honestly, no, they just said that the oxygen doesn't stay in the water. It literally comes out the air stone, bubbles up to the surface.
Yeah, it doesn't oxygenate the water.
Yeah.
The oxygenation in the water is when the surface of the water breaks.
It's the exact same thing though. Like each surface of the bubble is going to exchange gas. It's not like injecting it into the water, but it's definitely going to give you more surface area.
But that's what stupid humans do. They look at the air bubbles in the water and go, there's oxygen in that water. I can see it.
Right. Right.
I heard that micro the fish. Is that true? Like this not
The what?
like the micro bubbles I heard were bad for the fish because it gets in their gills. Is that true?
I'm not sure.
Hold on, I'll just ask my Achilles.
He
says-
doesn't get
I've
any
heard-
bubbles.
He says it starts off nice and it just gets annoying.
I've
I
heard
mean,
that
on the
that can
reef, I
happen too.
wouldn't think so. On like the coral reefs, they got waves splashing and stuff all the time, so it would be similar, I would believe.
A washout effect.
But yeah,
Yeah.
It's the same.
I don't
when you
practice
scrub at these boxes because they're
scrubbing.
all locked down. So, I like roller filters. It sounds like it's maybe slightly controversial. Does anyone else here run a roller filter?
No, I do.
I've got one.
I got one.
And do you like it, Tom?
Yeah, I used to use the disposable filter socks before because, my wife don't want me washing filter socks in the washer.
Were they called reef diapers or something?
Yes. I really don't see no difference between the two, except for now that I don't have to pull it as fast. I don't have to pull the socks out. Just a roll lasts me about 3 to 4 weeks right now.
Is that all?
That's it. Because I ran without socks for probably about 6 months.
Holy shit.
One of my rolls will last me 3-4 months.
And that
I
sounds
think also
reasonable.
though too, I'm running a ton of flow through it, so I'm slowly dialing it down.
Mr. Dub, you said you're running one. Are you a fan?
Yeah, I do like it. I've got to get it fine tuned again because I'm similar to Tom, where mine only lasts maybe a month. I do run kind of higher flow through my sump though, but no, I came from socks. I tried socks. I tried media cups for a while. I still use socks, but not regularly. I use socks siphoning from the display to the sump. I don't know if that makes sense. But
Is that not
yeah.
what all filter socks do?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so you're using a roller filter, but how are you using socks?
So I siphon from the display to the sump with its own line.
Ah, got you. Sorry.
Are you cleaning the sand bed when you do it?
Yeah, occasionally.
Okay.
Ryan, do you run filter socks or a roller filter?
Filter socks. I don't know how I would set up a roller filter. I kind of need to look at the person and see how my custom system. I really don't even know how they work, to be honest with you. How much does a roller cost? Like, how long does it last? I haven't done any research because I bought about 30 filter socks. Last me about 2 months. I take them down to the car wash. I power wash them out. And then I bring them home and I wash them with bleach in the washer. Then I'll wash them again with nothing just to clean them out. And then
So you take 30 dirty socks somewhere in a bag.
yeah, salt buckets. Yeah.
You don't want stock that day.
And yeah, like I said, the mess is at the car wash. I don't do it at the house.
Better.
But it works great. Like I said, I like the filter sock. So when I'm cleaning out the tank and everything's lifted into the water column, maybe a roller sock does the same thing for a roller filter, but the sock, nothing's getting past it. All those big particles are getting captured and I'm taking them out.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do with my roller filter. I know whatever I storm the tank, let's say, or I'm overfeeding, or let's say my phosphates are low and I'm dosing a whole load of refroids to try and get it up. And then anything that is not getting used by the tank then gets pulled out.
I don't get it. I heavy feed frozen every night. No skimming it, no nothing. Just thaw it in a cup of salt water, dump the whole fucking thing in. I don't turn any of the filters off. Or pumps off. So everything goes wherever, goes into the overflow, goes into the sump. And my sump doesn't have a huge mess and I have nothing. I don't get it.
You have enough rock and enough fish. I would say that pretty much. I mean, would you actually do that food going down the overflow?
I'm sure food goes down the overflow. I'm sure. There's no way it doesn't because I just fucking I send it into the tank and pumps just send it everywhere. So there's food that goes down the overflow.
I completely forget. Do you have rock in your sump?
I have one chamber that's got about 5 or 6 pieces of rock, and it's maybe 25 pounds.
You must have a really good pod population then, or something like that. Just like a lot of microfauna that would like come through and clean up and shit like that. Then
he's got a lot of pods.
A lot of pods.
His sand looks like it's fucking moving. He's got that many pods.
Yeah, if I look at night, the whole like, if I was to look at night, it would be like, holy shit. Like you talk about that little magnifying glass I had, Zach?
Yeah.
On the tank? That's awesome at night to see pods.
See what happens
because they're just scooching everywhere. So maybe it is. Maybe it is. I've got a good balance, but I mean, I showed you guys my sump last week, and I don't have a bunch of detritus down there. I don't have a bunch of mold. Like, I haven't done it in a year, and I haven't vacuumed my sump in probably a year and a half or 2 years. And there's maybe an 1/8 inch, maybe 3 millimeters thick of mold in 2 chambers, half the sump. That's it.
I appreciate the
quickly you've been
on that.
He keeps doing it today, though. It's like something's happened. Yeah. He's like 2 millimeters.
I'm trying to be aware that there's other people out there, inclusive.
It's funny because I've got a ruler now in this drawer that has millimeters and inches. So when Jim says stuff, I can go, "Yep, I know what he's talking about."
It's for the royalty. We got to stay metric.
What was that?
For the king, the Scottish king.
Whereabouts in India are you from, sir?
The great Scottish king.
From Punjab. Oh my God. So another thing I'd like to talk about is refugiums, which is another thing I've no experience of. I don't know anyone else that has ever had one. Does anyone here have a refugium?
Used to.
Okay, so you used to. Why do you not have one now?
Bit of a balance between minerals and nutrients. So I found that it ate my sucked up a lot of minerals. Sorry, it sucked up a lot of minerals, and if I was too inconsistent in calling the Cato, I would bottom out the nutrients. So
that's interesting because some people don't have some people have bigger systems. I think all refugiums really are, unless you have like a giant refugium, are a fun little side tank with a bunch of organisms, really. Mm-hmm. It just adds to the hobby. It ain't doing shit. Shut the fuck up if you're trying to convince me it's doing something to your tank. Yeah, if you get a little bit bigger one with a smaller tank, like Zach said, you can bottom out nutrients. But if you have a 5-gallon refugium and a 200-gallon tank, it's not doing shit.
Does anyone else have a refugium here?
Yeah, I do. I have a tiny, small, low 5-gallon refugium on a big 300-gallon tank.
It does shit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think
It
it's pretty
helps.
beneficial with the critters.
Yeah, dude.
More,
Once you get a big ball, dude. I mean, I used to have masses of fucking Kato come out like this, stiff. I'm not talking like pulled apart like fucking cotton candy. I'm saying stiff ball of Kato. That would come out the
Stiff.
nutrients.
Did everyone hear
Stiff.
the word stiff?
Yep.
Stiff.
Stiff.
Sounds like we're
Very,
getting
very
into
stiff.
sounds like we're getting into the algae box territory.
Nakatomi.
Scrubbers. Algae scrubbers.
Yeah.
People, you got a little volume of water that's growing and you clean out the algae scrubber every 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Nitrate's got to go somewhere.
Just seems like more work to me. Another thing to
It
look
seems
after.
like more work too.
Clean, trim.
I don't have to do anything. I just let it be there.
Well, that's because Brianna fucking does it.
Yeah.
So can't you just have that in your sump? Like, can I call my 5-gallon chamber of my sump a refugium that's got live rock and pods?
Absolutely. That's a refugium.
So maybe that's why I have no mulm, because I have a 5-gallon refugium in a 250-gallon tank.
You've just upgraded your tank and you didn't even know it.
I'm a full of shit. I'm one of those assholes. I just called myself an asshole earlier.
This sump works pretty good with the 3 socks, and I don't have really any mulm in the bottom here, but it does get dirty. But this other one, I get a lot of, I'm not going to be able to show you, but it gets really, really dirty in there. Filthy.
So, is this a store, Zach? Do you own a store?
Yeah, this is Great Lakes Corals up in northern Michigan.
Oh.
Fishing coral?
Can we find you on? Can we find you on?
Oh, we do have fish. Yeah.
Jim isn't.
But you're only Great Lakes Coral? It's Great Lakes Coral?
Great Lakes Corals. It's all Great Lakes Corals.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you have fish.
But
That's good to know.
Yeah, quality fish.
Yeah.
I actually
And refugiums.
Story of all of this.
Refugiums. No big.
If somebody just wanted a little bit of Kato, could they swing in?
Yeah, we fill up a little bag for you. It'd be like only $10 for a big, huge handful.
So you could
manhand
and get a side on.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I was under the impression Jordan had a refugium, but he's disappeared.
Mom called.
Have you been in at Mac?
Breakfast. Breakfast.
He's high as a kite on coffee. Mike, welcome to the chat. What is it you run biological filtration wise and mechanical filtration wise?
Fucking bastards.
Biological. I don't do any refugium at this point in time, but I have like so many sumps that they may qualify anyway. There's one sump that's completely in darkness. The other ones aren't. And that's basically it. And the amount of live rock is fairly small for the 400 gallons the tank is.
Do you have one in complete darkness intentionally?
Just so it doesn't grow algae. And actually,
cryptic.
Yeah, quasi. The intent there was actually not necessarily initially to make it a blackout tank. It's because it's on the floor where it can be kicked. And so it's actually covered with plastic ABS panels so that I don't accidentally bump it. But the effect was to essentially put it in darkness. And then when I moved a bunch of live rock out of the main system because the corals are so overgrowing everything, then it all went in there and became a quasi refugium.
I mean, in my experience years ago, nearly everybody's sump was in darkness. It was inside a cabinet. It was completely shut off. This is before people had the wee IP cameras to keep an eye on their sumps and LED lights and things like that. So, I mean, tanks 5-6 years ago here all had dark sumps.
I think lit sumps are a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you grow coral onions like
algae,
your
grow
skimmer
coraline.
and everything else.
Mine gets
Yeah.
overflow light from the room, but that's it. I don't light it. Fuck that.
Yeah. So
The skimmers get so nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sump for this tank is through the wall on the floor, and the lights from the frag tank shoot down at an angle and hit that acrylic sump, and there's a perfect line of algae that grows below that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a pain in the ass.
You have to clean it.
Just one of those melamine things that you use. Just a quick, nice and quick.
I used to do the Chitomorpha thing, but I gave up on it. I didn't see any major benefit to it, and it had a lot of downsides with potassium loss. I was constantly having to add potassium to it, and that just got to be a pain. And it affected the coral growth, so I just stopped using Chitomorpha. I haven't really noticed any major issues since then.
Was it potassium you were struggling getting sucked out, Zach?
At one point, yeah, but I wasn't using a refugium when that was happening.
Oh, sorry, I meant the other Zach. I should have said John McLean, just to be clear.
What I do?
Were you struggling with potassium levels when you were running your refugium?
Yes.
Interesting.
When I was planning on running a refugium on this new tank, and I'm reconsidering it now because of all the issues that Zach had with potassium.
I mean,
don't
it's like
you have
land
a
plants.
refugium?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it does a lot. I mean, it's just a hang on the back filter with some Kato in it. I mean, it grows a lot of Kato for what it is, but I don't know I can't say whether it does anything or not. It's just on there to make me feel better. Like it's doing something.
I think we all
if you
spend quite a
think
lot of money in this hobby on things that make us feel better, but don't necessarily actually benefit the animals in the tank.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a pretty roller filter. I'll pop that on. But I'm a fan of roller.
I agree. Too much equipment, too much gear. You don't need it all.
No.
If you think about the Chaetomorpha, the same as land plants. So when you use fertilizer for land plants, it's like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So the Chaetomorpha is essentially using the same situation. It's if the nitrogen doesn't do anything with phosphate, but it does actually uses some phosphate, but it uses the potassium. So if you're going to keep it, you got to essentially treat it like the land plant and provide the potassium to chews up.
Manganese, iron, all the fun shit.
Yeah.
Is that what's in like Kato grow? Is that what's in that stuff?
Yeah, and with the crap
Makes
ton of
sense.
iron, so when you add it, I mean everything's going to grow. It's algae, and you don't know how much you're adding because they don't publish what's in it. So it's just kind of a random shot of like, add some and hope for the best. And potassium is one of those things that if you go too high, obviously things are not. So
they don't give you the quantities and ratios on the bottle.
It's like 5 mils once a week or some crap like that.
Sorry, I mean the breakdown of the NP and K.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
because that's their proprietary blend. They don't want to give away their secret.
Yeah, but in the plant world, that would be illegal. So why is that allowed?
Not in America, baby.
We've got to have all that shit on our packaging.
That's how we roll here.
Yeah.
Everything's super secret squirrel.
Super secret squirrel.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me.
You never heard that before? That's
Nope.
what we say that with the government a lot. Everything's super secret squirrel. They don't want to tell you. It's like hush hush. Need to know.
No, Yeah, there would be legal problems with that here. We have to know what's in stuff.
Well, I mean, and here, like, even if there was a law against it, the major corporations just skirt around it, so no big deal. It's how it rolls here.
Episode 6 of Talking Bollocks, I think. So do you use any mechanical filtration, Mike?
No, not currently. I thought about doing like no filter socks or anything like that. I thought about doing a roller, but I don't have the space to fit it in. At least in the bottom sump. I might be able to get it in one of the top sumps, but it's so packed for space with everything in there currently that I don't know if I can do that. Also, I
Is there
don't
a
really see
reason
the need.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. What would be the reason?
I mean, the fish poo ends up in the main system anyway, because there's no way you can produce enough flow to get it to go through the overflow because there's just too much space. And 8 by 4 feet, it's not going to like go over the overflow. Instead, they poop in every coral and cause holes to form. But regardless, the way I'm dealing with that is essentially siphoning out all the detritus every couple of weeks. And that's actually been very beneficial.
It's a lot of work.
It's like an hour and a half.
Better
Yeah,
that than
but
dipping, though.
yeah, well, the dipping issue is a whole different issue. Let me tell you, that was a nightmare. Oh my gosh. I have PTSD from it and I have to do it again tomorrow. So
Are you going to bed early?
I actually am, yeah. So I can get up early enough to do it.
Do you have anybody to give you a hand, or are you having to do it completely solo?
I think my wife would divorce me if I asked her to help me.
Well, you know, every cloud. So does anyone have anything else they want to talk about filtration? I mean, we could go down the UV sterilizer route and things like that, and I don't know where to cut off the word filtration in the hobby because it can mean so many things. I've got a list here of stuff that I wrote down. I was like, holy shit, that is too long a list. So UV, does anyone run UV? I run UV and it is massively oversized, but I can't say whether it's given me a benefit. I don't think it's causing any harm.
I used to.
So why did you stop?
Bacteria. I wanted to get more focused on proper bacteria.
And have
I
you
used to run.
any difference?
Have I noticed a difference?
Yeah.
Yes. Microfauna.
But have you done multiple things along with changing your UV?
No. Not multiple things, I guess you could say. I guess two. So I turned off UV and eventually started dosing bacteria. But other than that, no. Microfauna, though, I've noticed an increase, which I do like. Eventually got to the point where I did start dosing Fido to help increase that. But yeah. Anyways.
I used to run UV as well, and I didn't run it for filtration. I ran it for fish disease control. I was just afraid with my 4 tangs, and even though I did quarantine, I was afraid I didn't do something right. I just wanted to make sure I did everything I could to keep the fish healthy and kill any parasites that were in the tank that could cause the fish harm. And eventually I just disconnected it and everything's still fine.
Has anybody run UV and seen a difference in water clarity? Because I did a test with my par reading, UV for a week, UV off for a week, and I saw a reduction of about 50 par.
Yeah, but how did you do that test? Because I saw a heavier growth of algae on my glass for a period of time when I turned my UV off. but eventually everything stabilized and it evened out to a point where my water's clear but it took time because from running the UV, I couldn't just expect by turning it off that there would still be a balance. I needed to allow it to restabilize.
Yeah, so I only did it for 7 days, so I can't.
Right after turning it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder what would happen if you turned it off for 6 months and then did it.
Yeah. I did see an increase in power though when I turned it back on. To my eyes, the water looked clearer, but is that because I knew I had switched my UV back on and I was just like, oh no, that money is doing what I wanted it to do.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it cleaned up the water clarity real quick. But I also wonder what would happen long term.
Yeah.
I think ozone is the best thing for water clarity, having now tried that. It was night and day. 2 days after I started it, it was like you could see there was nothing. It didn't look like water. It was so clear that, taking photography from above the tank was like, looking through the water itself. It was unbelievably different.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of them bleached, but
oh,
yeah,
really? It's too much bar. Light shocked.
I mean, I run an immense amount of par to begin with for having essentially all Acropora tank, but I mean, I now shut it off because I don't see any benefit of running it since the water is currently clear. What you're talking about with the water clarity has to do with a lot of algae related compounds that cause yellowing of the water, and so the ozone and UV can help break those down. And also carbon too, you can absorb it out, but it has a very short life expectancy with that.
Yeah, ozone has been UV has given me really good water clarity, but ozone just seems to take it just that next step, and it looks like the fish are just suspended in air. There's no water in the tank at all. It's another level of water clarity that I didn't get with only UV.
I definitely have seen a massive benefit. I think one of the downsides to the UV and ozone idea is that you end up killing off a lot of your bacteria plankton and other plankton. And so, I mean, if the corals are actually benefiting from that, then they're going to essentially be starving by, shutting it off. But, I don't know that all corals are benefiting from those things.
We really know so little. It's absolutely crazy. We're blowing the doors open on it.
I think it's changing fast though.
Yeah, we are. We're learning so much faster than we ever have. I mean, even just this week, I feel like I've been learning a lot more. Did anyone watch the Frag Garage video with Jamie Craggs?
I did.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, watch it. It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, I figured it was going to be good. I put it in the watch later, but I haven't had time to watch it.
It's really long. If you make it through it all in one sitting, then you're a better man than me. I didn't mean that in a negative way. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. So, does anyone else here run ozone at all?
I do a little bit of recently, not long enough to give any advice or anything like that.
Have you noticed any difference from using it though?
It's hard for me when I see everything every day, but customers have been saying it looks so clear, the water lately. In just the 2 tanks that I've been running ozone specifically.
And are these people you've said you're running ozone, or are they just saying it completely?
No,
off the bat?
they wouldn't even know what ozone is.
Okay.
Interesting.
No negative effects on anything yet?
Well, I'm walking around, and this morning I have a hammer head missing out of my big hammer colony, and then one bird's nest colony is whited out, and I'm not really sure what's going on. Everything else looks pretty good. Maybe a fluke.
Recheck your bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been told ozone is dangerous. I'm aware that it is dangerous, but I'm getting amazing results with it in the shop tank. And some people say, oh no, you get exactly the same effect running carbon. Carbon does a good job. However, any time I've ever used carbon in any system I've ever owned, my tanks get HLLE.
Really?
Now, if I quickly remove that carbon and take it out of the tank entirely before the HLLE gets too bad, the fish recover with some Silcon or another type of food soak I've got. If I let it go too long, and I only did that once, and that was before I realized what was going on with the purple tang, the facial scars are permanent, absolutely permanent, and you'll never heal from it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of carbon around tangs. Even some fin erosion, not even just HLLE, just actual the tail fins and the pectoral fins actually just start to fray and just start to almost come apart. So I'm very careful with carbon now. Ozone, I have had no negative effects except one night that it didn't switch off because the ORP probe wasn't plugged in right, and it wiped all of my large fish out. Clownfish, wrasses all survived fine. Every tang died. And I felt like an asshole.
It's not your fault. The probe's fault.
Yeah. Still, yeah, it made me realize how dangerous ozone can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan of ozone, and carbon has had so many negative things for me, including stripping so much good stuff out of the system. I don't think I'll go back to it.
So essentially, with the way I'm set up, I'm only running ozone when I think the water quality is going down. So I'm not running continuously. And the nice thing about the Avast system is that it breaks down ozone before it goes back in the tank. So my ORP never really rose. I think it went up like 20 or 30 points. That was it. And I have it set up to go, it's running through 4 sumps before it actually goes back to the tank and essentially degasses when it goes into the tank. So the likelihood of getting much effect from it for me is not that high. But you're right. I mean, ozone's extremely toxic. I mean, it's one of the most powerful oxidizers around. So you have to be very, very cautious with it.
I do like the idea behind the Avast reactor, that it actually does the entire thing within itself and then discharges very little ozone, if any, back into the system. I was doing it with a skimmer and a random bag of carbon hung near the output. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. You could smell it. You could walk in the room and smell ozone. That's not good.
Yeah.
What about UV? What about metal halides? Do you think they add to filtration? UVB.
All that is based off one paper about one specific coral in the Mediterranean where they hypothesized that its resistance to Vibrio was due to the fact that it's in shallow water and was getting increased UV that was killing off the Vibrio. That's literally the entire theory of UVB goes back to that one paper. And that's the only example of that I'm aware of. And they don't even talk about the paper. It's so maybe it has an effect, but if you have a lot of Vibrio in your system anyway, you probably need to deal with that in another manner than just metal halides.
Really, that all came from one paper about one coral? Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And it became YouTube food.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Reef Builders posted as a big talk at Reef Stock was metal halides.
Did they?
Yeah, on their Facebook, they posted metal halides as a big talk. Like not a seminar talk, but I think people were discussing it. I mean, Meckley was there. He's the Allied guy, so
Was this was Tulio involved in this?
I don't know if Tulio was there.
Was he? Yeah, but he was talking about metal halides with, is it Andrew Sandler at Polo Reef?
I'll see if I can find that paper and send it to you, Ron. You could add to it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll just smear some shit.
Yeah, we should definitely do a disease talk so we can deal with some of these things directly.
Yeah, that would be a good one for the disease talk.
Absolutely. It's funny, since talking to Mike and seeing some of his weird growth anomalies on his acroporas and things like that, I feel like now I'm looking at online vendors and I'm going across the website and I'm going, that doesn't look quite right. That looks like that's got a little bit growing there and that's got a... I'm just looking at them completely differently.
Not just, wow, cool colors.
Yeah.
What did they do to make this look like that?
It's like, what is that? That's
How is it growing?
Yeah.
Well, you've got some strange growth in your frag tank.
Yep.
You know, it's amazing that some of these corals just stunt themselves and then you move them, or like you said, you have large colonies. Every piece you frag dies. You get a frag that hangs on as a tiny colony and you can frag it nonstop.
Yeah. Montiporus setosa, which is pretty bomb-proof in my experience. But if I cut a bit off of that big plate I've got in that frag tank, dies within a day. But if I take a tiny little fly's penis helmet off of a frag and stick it to a plug, it's a colony in 3 weeks. Apologies for that description. I don't know. I don't know where that came from.
Be a Scottish thing. I didn't know
No,
we don't have fly helmets here.
It's not.
We don't make fly helmets.
It's
fly
not a
penis helmets
Scottish
here.
thing. It's a fucking Ron thing, and there's something wrong with me. I'm surprised you guys have not all just hung up. So yeah, it is really interesting that I'm taking big, healthy chunks from a colony, attaching it to a frag plug, and it's dying within a day. And then I'm taking tiny little insignificant things, and I don't know what that's all about.
That's weird.
That is really weird. The only thing I can think of is that the colony is in slightly lower light than where I'm putting the new plugs, so maybe they're getting scorched. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure.
So, you know, big talk about filtration today. Z-dubs, do you worry that you're changing your kind of sump system and adding a new tank with how well your main display is doing already? Because you're kind of changing up. You're kind of making a big change to filtration.
I mean, the only thing I'm really doing is adding a lot of dead sand, dead rock, water volume. I'm probably going to dose nutrients for a little bit until things stabilize. But other than that,
you took down Nakatomi, so you had a cryptic sump that was just, I mean, it wasn't cryptic because you had that light in there, but you had a sump that instead of Kato, you were growing bubble algae. So I mean, that was.
I was growing both. No, I mean, things have stabilized since I've taken Nakatomi down. Nakatomi's been down for, I'd say, probably close to a month to probably like a month and a half, not longer now. No, I actually do plan on growing a crypto, to be honest. Here, I'll show you. This stump right here is all blacked out. Do plan on blacking out the lid. I don't know why my shit's backwards. I have to go left to go right. That's fucked up. But
mine did that too. Ron's got a setting fucked up. At least we don't have echoes.
Good.
It's all Ron's fault.
I'm just spotlighting Zach because he's shown us his tank. What's the fucking problem, ladies?
It's still your fucking fault. It's always your fucking fault.
Always your fault. It's a thing. Sorry, Z-dubs.
You're fine. No, you're fine.
I don't give a fuck.
Good. No, so this 40 breeder is, goddamn, I have to go backwards. 40 breeder is going to be a cryptic sump. It's going to be sponges, all sorts of shit like that, which then flows into the normal sump, which then flows into that fucking tea and then gets redispersed.
Fucking tea.
So,
Nice.
yeah, so I'm in a cube of water.
That is really cool.
That is
So-
cool.
Look at those corals. Yeah. Holy shit.
That's a fucking award-winning tank, Ron.
Whoa. Look at those Monties. Let's see those Monties.
That is awesome.
Say so. Probably about the size of my fucking hand.
There's a fly helmet.
It's growing out. Stylo's looking good. I like it. I miss it. Can't wait for it to grow.
I like that frag rack.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Original content. Not sure how this turned into a Zach tank tour, but
When are you launching the 3Dub store?
not sure. Still have to get more original designs. I feel like it's not enough to just be 3D printing frag racks.
I'm not gonna lie, I was super fucking chuffed with my name when I came up with that. I was patting myself on the back.
So, but yeah,
Looking good. Right, so
2 thumbs up.
unless anyone has anything else to discuss filtration, we'll wrap it up. Is anyone getting anything else they want to add?
No.
Algae scrubbers. Who's running an algae scrubber?
Well, is that not what the Kato is? Is that an algae scrubber or is that a refugium with algae? There's an algae scrubber
Well,
when it grows on the net thing and you've got a light.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is anyone doing that?
you're probably not.
It's like
Nobody's
gross
doing that?
snotters.
I
Those
did.
things are expensive.
I took it
They're
offline.
expensive as fuck.
Yeah, they're really expensive for
What? They're expensive. That thing that grows bogies on a sheet
fucking right.
is
Yeah.
Those things are like $500.
More than that. 800 to $1,000.
I got
Are
it.
they that much now?
That I'm getting ready to plumb back in.
Why are they
They're
so
just-
I heard-
expensive?
Because they,
'Cause
patents
it-
and whatnot.
peop-
Because of what, Jason?
Patents and whatnot,
Boogers on a net. $800.
Shit's patented.
Do they
Yeah, it's
come with
patented, man.
boogers?
I don't know. Maybe that's what's in the patent. I didn't read it.
A little
That's why
pack-
it's patented. It's
a
got
little
someone's
pack of
special boogers.
You've got to wipe them on just to seed it.
Yep.
Oh, this person.
Don't do it, Ron.
This
You might be
person's had a
getting
nosebleed.
briefy as fuck. Might get in trouble for sharing this.
Intellectual property.
know.
stuff.
The
Yeah, intellectual property that you're sharing with everybody. Is this educational? Maybe we could get away with it for being educational. We won't get angry man yell at us.
How do we make it educational?
I
This
kinda
is
hope he comes and
educational.
yells at
Come
us.
on.
I'll fix it. I've learned something. Well, thank you everyone for joining episode 5 to discuss filtration. This has been fun. I'll arrange the next one and I'll send out invites. Bye everybody.